I'll say it as a fan and nothing else. Signing Jaelan Phillips for $30 million a year feels like a desperate roll of the dice for our Carolina Panthers. Management has officially locked in the veteran edge rusher on a massive deal, banking on his upside despite a brutal history of major injuries. This move is fascinating because it pits raw analytical logic against our urgent need to fix a stagnant pass rush that has been non-existent for far too long. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. My name is Lucas, and if you want to stay ahead of this situation, please hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your name and city in the comments below. Let's get into it. The Carolina Panthers have officially signed veteran edge rusher Jaelan Phillips to a contract worth $30 million annually, marking a massive splash in free agency that has left the fan base divided. Phillips arrives in Charlotte following stints with the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles, bringing a career defined by a difficult string of injuries including a torn Achilles and a torn ACL in back-to-back years. After returning to the field for a full season in 2025, his production remained modest with only 5 sacks recorded between those two clubs. Analyst Mo Moten recently gave the team a B grade for this move, despite labeling Phillips the most overpaid player at his position due to his inconsistent health history. As Carolina Panthers fans, we are feeling a mix of cautious optimism and genuine skepticism, especially since we finished 24th in pass rush win rate last season. We recognize the team desperately needed someone to complement Nick Scorton, yet the reality remains that management likely felt forced to pay a premium for a high-ceiling talent because so few elite options were available on the open market. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore the specific financial strain this places on our long-term salary cap flexibility. This bold, aggressive gamble prioritizes immediate defensive improvement over the long term, leaving us to weigh the cost against the potential output. If he remains healthy, he could finally be the missing piece of our defensive puzzle, but if he falters, this contract might become a significant burden. This leads us to a critical question. What does this signing actually mean for the rest of our defensive scheme and the players currently fighting for those remaining spots? And are we truly ready for the consequences? Behind the scenes, this massive investment signifies a desperate pivot by our front office to secure a proven pass rusher before the remainder of the league could drive the asking price even higher. We are talking about $30 million annually for a player with a history marred by a torn Achilles and a torn ACL in consecutive years. While he managed to return for a full season in 2025, his output was limited to 5 sacks across his time with the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. What nobody is talking about is the specific internal pressure on our coaching staff to produce immediate results after the team finished 24th in pass rush win rate last season. Management is clearly betting that the sheer physical ceiling of this player outweighs the obvious medical risks that have defined his recent career path. We have witnessed similar gambles in the past where the team prioritized raw talent over durability, and those situations often resulted in significant roster stagnation when the players were sidelined for long stretches. Behind closed doors, the coaches are likely banking on the idea that our defensive scheme will allow him to focus purely on rushing the passer without the burden of complex coverage responsibilities that might have hindered him elsewhere. They view this $30 million salary not just as an expense, but as a necessary toll to be paid for the chance to elevate our defensive intensity to a competitive level. If this calculated risk pays off, the secondary will finally have the breathing room needed to operate effectively. But the margin for error is razor thin given the financial weight placed on this one roster spot. We must now monitor how the coaching staff integrates him into the rotation during the upcoming minicamps to see if he can truly handle the workload required for such a substantial contract. The financial commitment to Jaelan Phillips signals a pivotal moment for our franchise, effectively betting our competitive window on the health of a single playmaker. This matters right now because we are no longer in a rebuilding phase where patience is a luxury. We are actively closing the gap in a league that punishes hesitation. By allocating $30 million annually to an edge rusher with a documented history of Achilles and ACL injuries, the front office has essentially restricted our ability to add veteran depth elsewhere on the roster. We have effectively pushed all our chips into the center of the table, prioritizing an immediate upgrade over the safer, long-term fiscal discipline that defined our previous off-seasons. The bottom line here is that the depth chart now looks top-heavy, leaving little room for error if the rotation fails to generate pressure early in the campaign. When we look at our upcoming schedule, this move is clearly designed to neutralize the high-powered offensive lines we face in the NFC South. We need to disrupt those rhythm-based passing attacks to have any hope of reclaiming the division lead. If Phillips produces, he transforms our front seven into a unit that dictates the game rather than reacting to it. However, if his past injury struggles persist, our playoff aspirations become significantly more precarious. We are now forced to rely on a high-ceiling talent who must prove he can survive the grind of a full season. We needed this injection of talent to complement Nick Scariest, but the pressure to deliver results is immense. If we fail to secure quick wins against our primary rivals this year, this aggressive contract will undoubtedly become the focal point of every conversation regarding our lack of roster flexibility moving forward into the next season. The argument in favor of this signing is centered on the undeniable scarcity of game-changing pass rushers on the open market, as our front office likely concluded that securing a high-ceiling talent like Jaelan Phillips was worth the premium to prevent our defense from stagnating again. By aggressively pursuing a player with his specific physical profile, the organization is betting that the 24th-ranked pass rush win rate from last season can be corrected immediately rather than waiting for long-term development. Now here's the thing, the counter-argument is equally compelling because we are tying $30 million annually to a player who has struggled with severe durability issues after his time with the Miami Dolphins and Philadelphia Eagles. Relying on someone who recorded just 5 sacks over the last 2 years creates a massive financial liability if those injury trends continue. Analyst Mo Moughton provided a balanced perspective by assigning a B grade for the aggressiveness of the move while simultaneously tagging Phillips as the most overpaid player at his position, reflecting the broader league-wide skepticism about the value of this contract. While some might suggest other defensive targets could have provided better security, the reality is that the Panthers had few other options to address such a glaring hole in the roster. Here's where I land on this. I personally believe the panic surrounding the price tag is slightly overblown, because in today's NFL market, you frequently have to overpay to secure players with elite potential who are entering their prime. While the risk of his injury history is valid, the alternative was standing pat with a defensive unit that failed to pressure opposing quarterbacks all year long. This aggressive maneuver demonstrates that our management is unwilling to settle for mediocrity, even if the math makes some folks uncomfortable. When we examine the broader strategy for the Carolina Panthers, it becomes clear that this $30 million commitment signals a pivot toward win-now football rather than a slow, methodical rebuild. By securing a high-ceiling talent like Jaelan Phillips, the front office is signaling to the locker room that patience for development has reached its limit and the time for immediate production is here. Here's what people are missing when they critique the salary cap math. In a league defined by thin margins, bringing in a player capable of disrupting the quarterback is often worth the premium, even with the injury risks identified by Mo Moughton. You should feel a sense of cautious anticipation heading into this season. While the 5 sacks recorded across 2 teams during the previous campaign are modest, the necessity of bolstering a unit that finished 24th in pass rush win rate justifies this aggressive path. We are betting that a healthy Phillips can finally reach his full potential alongside Nick Scariest, providing the spark our defensive front has lacked for far too long. If this gamble pays off, we could see a total transformation of our defensive identity, but any further setbacks will certainly test our resolve. It is a calculated risk that hinges entirely on his availability and physical durability. To better understand the stakes, do you believe Jaelan Phillips will record more than 8 sacks this season? Yes or no? Please leave your answers in the comments section below so we can track the pulse of the fan base. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Keep pounding. I'll see you in the next one. As we gear up for this critical upcoming matchup, remember that every single victory matters significantly for our playoff seeding and divisional title hopes.